I've come to the shore, you'll notice, boots in the wet sand, not lying in bed pretending to. All last week you had me inside one of these waves, steeped to the eyebrows, rained on by old light off dead stars. And you kept pointing down the beach. Next time we don't stand inside one, we make one. So here I am, sleeves rolled up. Show me how we light the fire.
Pick up the one thing you'll need. It's already in your fist. A charge. Not a wire, not a coil, not a lamp with clever insides. Just a bare charge. The stubborn little fellow from the first night who did nothing but sit and spray his field in spokes. That and your own arm to move him with. Everything we fling at the stars tonight, we fling with those two.
One charge and my arm, that's the toolkit? I keep waiting for you to unroll some fearsome apparatus, and instead you hand me the first thing I ever met and my own hand to jiggle it. It feels far too poor a beginning for a fire that reaches a star.
Don't swing that arm yet. Before you move him at all, be honest about what he's doing while he does nothing, because nothing turns out to be the most important word tonight. Set him on the sand. Don't touch him. What's he up to?
Nothing much by the look of him. He sits, he sprays his field out in those straight spokes, reaching off every way, thinning as it goes, the way you drilled into me the first night. A still charge in a still field. There's no drama in him at all.
No drama, and mark it, no wave either. His field stands round him like spokes on a frozen wheel, stretching off as far as you please, and yet nothing about it is going anywhere. It doesn't ripple, doesn't travel, doesn't leave. Watch him 100 years, and not one whisper of light gets loose. Agreed?
I'd have wagered that before you even asked, a thing that never stirs can hardly throw anything to the stars. So the still one's a dead loss. Then the cure's obvious. I move him. Pick him up, carry him off down the beach. Surely that shakes something loose.
Carry him then, the gentlest way there is. Smooth and steady, like a candle you don't want to gutter. The same pace the way through, not a wobble. Off he glides at a walking clip that never changes. Now, you're certain this shakes a wave loose. Tell me why you're so certain.
Because he's moving now, and moving was the thing I thought lit the fire. A breath ago he sat and sent nothing. Now his field's hauled along with him. Surely that dragging kicks up a ripple, the way dragging your hand through a pond kicks up a wake. He's making a wake of field as he glides, isn't he?
Not a ripple, not a wake, not a wisp. Here's what ought to stop you where you stand. A charge gliding at a steady, unchanging clip throws off no light whatever, no more than the one asleep on the sand. His field travels along with him, rigid, carried like a lantern at arm's length. The whole pattern slides down the beach in one piece and sheds nothing.
Now that pulls me up hard. He's plainly moving, I can watch him go, and the moving buys me nothing. A charge tearing along at a good steady pace is as dark, as silent, as the one dead asleep.
Take one queer step with me, and you'll feel why it's no swindle. Trot along beside him, matching him stride for stride, keeping perfect pace. From up there, running level with him, what does he look like to you?
If I match to his pace, then to me he isn't moving at all. He's sitting there beside me, still as anything, while the beach streams past us both. From where I run, he's the sleeping charge over again.
But he can't be flinging light to the stars. A fellow trotting beside him swears he's doing nothing, and a wave is either launched or it isn't. It can't be there for me and gone for you. Steady motion is just stillness watched from a bench that happens to be sliding.
2 coats on the one charge, then still and gliding steady. One looks moving to me, one to you, and neither of us wrings a ripple out of him. Then I'm running dry of ideas. Still is dead, Steady is dead. What on earth is left for my arm to do?
One thing, the only thing. And by naming the 2 dead cases, you've done the ruling out yourself. Don't carry him smoothly. Jerk him. Snap him from rest, run him and stop him dead, or shake him to and fro so he never settles to one pace. Change his motion, not move him, change how he's moving. That and that alone throws a wave to the stars.
So it was never speed I was after, never the moving at all, only the change in it. A fast, steady glide's as dead as a slow one, as dead as sitting stock still. It's the moment I speed him, slow him, turn him, the moment his motion isn't what it was a breath ago. That's when he lights.
There's a homely picture for it. Ride a coach on a dead smooth road, pace never altering, blinds drawn. You can't tell you're moving at all. Only the lurches reach you, the jolt at the start, the shove at the stop, the sway round a bend. Your body ignores the steady going and answers only the changes. A charge is that miserly too. It answers only the lurches.
So the universe is the most magnificent bore about it. It does not care that you're moving. Sit still, it shrugs. Glide forever at a steady clip. It shrugs again, same thing. The one moment it sits bolt upright and takes notice is the moment you change your mind about how you're going. Speed up, slow down, swerve. And only then does it light a flare and go telling the stars.
The word we've landed on, you've met before, under another roof. The thing that changes emotion, speeds it, slows it, swerves it, all in one, carries a name from the very first course.
Acceleration. The old word for it, the speeding and slowing and turning, folded together. Back then it was carts and falling stones. You're telling me the same plain thing that made an apple pick up pace as it dropped is the thing that lights a charge.
Accelerate a charge by any road, a push, a halt, a shake, and it radiates. Leave it be, still or gliding, and it's dark. So shake the charge means just change of motion over and over, 1,000 changes in a breath, each a fresh flare. Change piled on change, piled on change.
So one sharp yank makes one flare, one ripple, and a steady shake makes a whole train of them, one per reversal. The difference between striking a match once and holding up a lit torch. Have I the shape of it?
The shape's yours. One jerk, one pulse. A sustained shake, a steady stream, crest on crest, for just as long as your arm keeps changing his motion. Stop shaking, let him settle to still, or a smooth glide, and the stream shuts off that instant. The light lasts as long as the changing does, not a heartbeat past it.
Then that's the what, and I believe it, change of motion, nothing else, throws the wave. But you've taught me never to walk off with only the what. Why should a jerk of my hand down here send anything racing off to a star? Where does the ripple come from? Walk me into the machinery of it.
Back to Faraday's lines. Draw the little fellow still, and draw his field the way Faraday taught you. Straight lines running out every way, like hair off a head, each pointing dead back to the charge at its root. Every line's a little arrow saying, he's that way, back along me. Fix that first. A hedgehog of straight spines, every one pointing home.
However far a spine runs, it still points home. A spine a mile long still says, he's back that way. Fine, now I yank him. What becomes of my hedgehog?
Here's the hinge of the night, so go slowly. You yank him, snap him a little way sideways to a fresh spot. Close in, the spines swing round at once to point where he is now. They're near, the news reaches them in a wink. But a spine reaching miles out, does its far end know, the instant you yank, that the charge has moved?
It can't, can it? That's the drum you've beaten since we found the speed. Nothing crosses faster than light, not even word of where a charge has got to. So the far end's still pointing at the OLD spot, because news he's shifted hasn't reached out there yet. The near end's already re-aimed to the new spot, and the far end's still aimed at the ghost of the old one.
Those two stretches can't meet in a tidy join. Out where the news has reached, the line makes a jog. A sideways kink, a dogleg where the re-aimed near part hands over to the not yet told far part. And every spine grows that same kink at once. A shell of kinks.
A wrinkle running right round the charge then, sitting where the news has had time to travel. Inside it, the spines have heard and re-aimed. Outside, they haven't, still pointing at the old spot. And on the shell itself, they're all jogging sideways to splice the two together.
And here's the piece that ought to lift the hair on your arm. That shell doesn't sit still. The news keeps travelling, ever outward, always at the one speed. So the shell of kinks races out with it, at light speed, swelling into the dark like a ring on a pond blown up to fill the sky. One flick of the wrist, and it peels off the charge and sprints away, forever.
So the wrinkle I put in the field doesn't loiter. It strikes for the horizon and past it, growing as it flies, and never turns for home. But hold on, is that travelling kink the light itself, the actual ripple, or only a sign that light's been made?
The kink is the light. There's no second thing behind it. That travelling sideways jog, sweeping out at the one speed, is the radiated wave, the leapfrog you rode last week. Look close. The field isn't pointing home anymore. It's wagging sideways, crosswise to the way it flies, because the old and new spots sit side by side. The splice between the two runs sideways. Just how a light wave's field must wag. Transverse, racing at light speed. A ripple of field with nothing waving, because it is the wave.
So when I looked up at a star last week and called that a wave arriving, some charge ages ago and a world away got yanked. Something changed its motion, and the kink it made peeled off and ran and ran. And it's the crossing of that far-off wrinkle over the back of my eye that I've been calling seeing the star.
A charge shaken, long ago, in the body of that star, and the kink it threw has been racing ever since, and tonight it ends on you. That's every beam there is. Somewhere upstream, a charge changed its motion, and the crimp it put in its field has sprinted outward from that moment to this. Trace any light back up its road, and you reach a charge that was made to swerve.
Then let me test the machinery on the dead cases. The still charge, his spines all point home and stay pointing home. No yank, no mismatch, no kink, nothing peels off. Dark. And the steady glider.
Go on, work the glider yourself. It's the sterner test.
The glider keeps moving, so his spines are forever re-aiming to keep him in sight. But smoothly, near and far sliding together at one unchanging rate. Never a sudden disagreement, no spot where one's heard the news and another hasn't sprung a jog. The pattern just travels along whole. No kink forms, because nothing ever changes sharply. And to the bench sliding alongside, he's just the still hedgehog again, so there's no kink to find in anybody's view. No kink, no light.
A kink needs a mismatch, a near part that's learned what the far part hasn't caught up to. Steady glide never springs it. The field keeps step with itself. Only a true jerk makes the near spines lurch while the far ones lag. And that lurch against lag is the kink. Change of motion doesn't just describe the wave, it builds it.
That's the prettiest bit of machinery you've shown me yet. A wrinkle that can't keep up with itself, snapping off and running for the stars. But it's all been one lonely charge and my arm out here. Nobody lights the world by hand jiggling a charge on a beach. How does anyone do this? At scale, to send a song across a county,
You build a place for charges to be shaken, then shake them, endlessly, together, in step. Take a plain metal rod, full of loose charges, free to run up and down its length, the fellows that carry a current in any wire. Instead of pushing them one way for a steady current, you slosh them. Up the rod, back down, up again, quick as you can work them.
so I'm not sending them anywhere. I'm rocking them in place, up, down, like water sloshed to and fro in a trough. And every reversal, top of the slosh, bottom of the slosh, is a change of motion. They're being accelerated over and over, all the while I keep it up.
A rod of charges all changing motion together is a rod of little kink makers firing in unison. Each slosh throws its crimp, and because they rock in step, the crimps pile up and march out together. A strong wave off the rod, crest on crest, as long as you slosh. That rod, rocking its charges, is an antenna, and what pours off it is radio.
Radio, the thing I stood drenched in last week, streaming through the walls to the wireless set. That's where it's born? Some rod up on a mast, its charges rocked up and down, flinging kinks off into the sky by the endless trainload.
A rod on a mast, its charges rocked so many times a second, the kinks come off in one unbroken stream. That's a broadcast tower, stripped of its mystery. No cleverer principle in it than the one in your fist on the sand. Change a charge's motion and it sheds light. The tower just does it to a great many charges, very hard, very fast, and never stops to rest.
Then does it matter how fast I rock them? I've pictured the tower's rod and my hand jiggle as one act at two sizes. But if I rock my charge lazily or in a frenzy, is that a different light coming off, or only more of the same?
A different light. There's last week's dial come round again. Rock lazily, the crests come off far apart. A long strided wave, radio ambling along. Rock in a frenzy, the crests crowd close. A short, tight stride. The rate of your shaking becomes the rate of the wave. So the dial you turned all last week, you now know who turns it. The hand doing the shaking.
So, to make a different light, I've only to shake faster. Then could I stand here and, by shaking my one charge hard enough, climb the whole family, up out of radio, through the warmth, into a colour I could actually see coming off my own hand?
In principle, climb away. But your arm hasn't a prayer of it, nor has any mast. To shake fast enough for visible light, you'd reverse the charge so many times a second, no hand, no engine, no tower comes within a country mile of the pace. That furious a shaking only heat supplies, which is why the mast makes only radio, and it takes a fire to make a glow.
So a radio tower, that great steel thing humming with power, costing a fortune, planted on a hill for the county to gawp at, is, once you strip the paint off, an extremely expensive way to waggle some charges up and down a pole. All that engineering, all that money, and the actual errand is jiggle. Jiggle very well, jiggle very fast, but jiggle.
Worth every coin, that. It carries clear across a county. But you've built only the near half. You can fling a wave off the mast. Grand. What good is a song flung into the sky if nobody, miles off, can catch it back down?
The catching, yes. So there's a second rod at the far end, in my wireless set. And by everything you've taught me, catching ought to be the launching run backwards. The wave I flung arrives at the far rod, and does what to it?
Ask what the wave carries, and you know already. A field, wagging crosswise, sweeping past that rod. And a field, wherever it lands, does the one thing it always does. Shoves any charge it finds. So the wave's field, washing over the far rod, takes hold of the loose charges and pushes them. Up as it wags up, down as it wags down, in time with itself.
So the passing wave grabs the charges in my receiving rod and sloshes them, the same up and down slosh, only now it's the arriving wave doing the shaking, not a hand. The far rod's charges dance to the wave washing over them. And charges sloshing up and down a rod, that's a current. A little rocking current in step with the wave.
A faint rocking current, kindled by nothing but the passing field. Faint, because by now the wave's a ghost of what left the mast. But real, rocking in time with the far-off slosh that launched it. Catch it, coax it, build it stout enough to shake a paper cone, and the cone pushes the air your ear, and out comes the song.
So the whole span, tower and wireless, a county apart, is charges shaken at one end, and the same shake kindled at the other by the wave between. Somebody rocks charges on a hill, the kink races out, and it rocks my charges faintly in the box on my table. The song isn't sent exactly, the shake is sent, and my rod takes up the same shake.
And there's a man to salute for proving it before a soul believed it. Hertz. Last week I said he made a wave on his bench and caught it across the room. Now you see the bottom of it. At one end he shook charges in a gap till they sparked. At the other, a loop of wire kindled a current stout enough to spark again.
So Hertz's spark across the room was the first broadcast and the first catch, both on one bench. A transmitter and a receiver before either had the name. He shook charges here, and a matching answer sparked over there, kindled by the wave that crossed the empty air. Rocking charges at both ends, letting the wave carry the rocking across.
Charges made to dance at one end, the same dance called up at the other by the wave between. That was his demonstration, and it's every broadcast made since, down to the one in your kitchen. He proved on a benchtop that Maxwell's paper waves were real, catchable things. Every mast is Hertz's spark gap grown enormous, every wireless his loop. He only did it first, and small, with his own two hands.
And it's all one trick, transmit and receive, charges made to change their motion. I keep hunting for the difference between sending and catching, and there isn't one. Sending, I shake the charges, the wave flies off. Catching, the wave arrives and shakes the charges. Same charges, same shake, same wave, only which end you stand at.
The wave itself can't tell the difference. It doesn't care whether a charge's shaking made it, or its arrival is now making a charge shake. Same crosswise crimp either way. To send is to shake a charge and watch the kink leave. To receive is to stand in its path and be shaken. One coin, two faces. Held since the first night. Never known for a coin.
Then here's what nags me next. If the wave's a ghost of the mast by the time it's crossed a county, then something's been lost on the road. And last week you swore a wave crossing empty space doesn't tire, loses nothing to the void. So which is it? How is my radio a ghost of the tower if the wave never wearies?
Two words that feel like one. Weaker and wearier. And this next piece is prizing them apart. The wave hasn't wearied. Not a scrap of its energy's been spent, lost or handed to the emptiness. Last week stands undented. And yet what lands on your rod is faint. Both true at once. So where did the strength get to if it wasn't lost?
If it wasn't lost, it's out there still, all of it. But I catch only a faint sip at my rod. So the energy hasn't gone, it's simply not all coming to me. Is that the crack? That the wave never lost a thing, I'm only not standing where most of it is.
That's the crack. Now open it wide. The mast doesn't aim its wave at your wireless. It throws its kinks every way at once. A shell swelling from the tower like a bubble blown bigger and bigger. A mile out, that shell's a sphere wrapped round the tower. all the launched energy smeared over its skin. Let it swell. 2 miles, 3, 10. What happens to the skin?
The skin gets bigger, a great deal bigger. A bubble twice as wide has far more than twice the skin. It grows fierce and fast as the bubble blows. So the same dab of energy that lay thick on the little near shell must spread over a huge far one. Same paint, a vaster wall, going on thinner the further out it swells.
Hold that picture. It's the marrow of it. All the energy's still there, every scrap riding the shell outward, but it's shared across a skin that grows and grows, so any one patch, the patch your rod sits on, catches a thinner share the farther out you stand. Your rod isn't handed a wearier wave, only its own small patch of a wave spread thin over an enormous sphere.
Then here's a test. Suppose I could gather up the whole skin of the sphere at once, stand everywhere on it together. Would I get the full strength back, the tower's shout undimmed?
Every scrap. Wrap a shell of catching rods round the tower, close in, and you'd drink the entire launched wave, nothing missing. Because nothing was ever missing. The trouble is only that you can't be everywhere on the sphere at once. You're one rod on one patch, and the sphere is wide. So you catch your share, and mistake its smallness for weakness. It was never weak, only shared.
My faint radio isn't a tired wave then. It's my fair share of a strong one, small only because the sphere I stand on is so wide. Walking closer, smaller sphere, thicker paint, fatter share. Walk away, bigger sphere, thinner share. The wave's just as strong in total either way. I'm only ever catching one patch of a spreading skin.
And there's a rule folded into how fast the skin grows, in words. Go twice as far out and the skin doesn't just double, it quadruples, because a sphere's skin grows by the square of its reach. So your share doesn't halve at twice the distance, it drops to a quarter. Thrice as far, a ninth. Quick and steep, why a far station whispers and a near one shouts. Not weariness, geometry.
I'll hold those two apart now then. They wore one coat a minute ago. The wave spends nothing on the empty road. It only shares itself out across a bigger wall as it flies. So even the sun's light thins this way. Not tired, just spread. By the time it reaches me, it's a strong wave, divided across a sphere as wide as our distance from it.
Even the sun throws its shell out every way, and we catch our patch of a sphere, drawn as wide as the sky. Stand near a fire, it's fierce. Step back, it's mild. Not because the fire tired in those feet, but because its shell spread wider and your face caught a thinner slice. You felt inverse square on your cheek 1,000 times, and called it further from the fire.
Here's where I plant my feet though. You keep saying the energy that left the tower, the energy the sun throws, as if there's a real freight of it, weighed and paid for. Last week you wouldn't weigh it. We're at the shore now, lighting our own fire, so weigh it. Where does the energy in the wave actually come from?
From your arm. Nowhere else. The arm that does the shaking. You grab the little fellow and shake him to and fro to fling your kinks. And that shaking is work. Your arm strains, spends effort, tires. And the effort doesn't vanish. It flies off down the beach as the light you just made. Light out, work in. The wave is paid for by whatever shook the charge.
But why should shaking him cost my arm anything past the ordinary? He's a tiny thing. Rocking a tiny charge to and fro ought to be as nothing, like waving an empty hand. Where's the extra toll, the part I pay specially to make light, over and above just moving a small thing?
Because energy flew off as light. It came from your hand, so something had to be pushing back. The charge shoves back at you as you shake it. Not the plain heft of him, but something extra, a drag that's there only because he's radiating. Fling him one way, and the field you're building leans against you. You feel a push on your hand, stealing your effort. Shake harder, make more light, and the push shoves back harder. You're working against something, and the something is the wave leaving.
I know this shove. I felt its cousin before, the coil, weeks ago. Every time I tried to change the current, it shoved back and made me pay. The magnet down the copper pipe, something pushed back and stole its fall, turned it to warmth. This is that same rude fellow, isn't it? The pushback that makes you pay for what you're making.
The same rude fellow in a new coat. In Faraday's world, whatever change you forced, the field leaned against you to oppose it. Here he stands again. Shake a charge to make light, and the making leans back on your hand. It earns a name. The drag a radiating charge feels, the reluctance that is the wave's price. You meet it not because the charge is heavy, but because it radiates.
So it's like rowing a boat. You feel a drag on the oars that isn't the weight of the boat. It's the wake you leave. Pull harder, throw a bigger wake, and the water leans harder on the oars for it. The drag is the cost of the wake billed to your arms as you make it.
Row gently, a small wake and the oars pull easy. Row hard, a great wake and they fight you every stroke. Shake your charge gently, a faint wave trickles off. Shake it hard, a strong wave rolls to the stars and your hand strains against the pushback for every scrap. The light is your wake, never free of charge.
So the pushback is a kind of tax collector, standing at the very moment of launching. I pay him on the spot, in the extra effort to shake against his shove. But does the whole of that effort go into the light, or does some leak away as heat in my arm and never reach the stars at all?
None of it leaks away. Whatever energy sails off as the wave is just what your arm spent fighting the pushback. No scrap of light appears unpaid for in work against that drag, and no scrap of that work vanishes. It all leaves as light. The books balance to the last farthing. You cannot make a wave the world forgets to charge for.
No such thing as free light, then. I had a small daydream just now of standing on this beach flinging waves to the stars for nothing, gaily, all night, at no cost to myself, and you've quietly sent a bill to my table. Every flake of light that ever left anything, anywhere, was paid for in full by whatever shook the charge that made it.
Paid in full, no light on credit. And there's the answer to the phrase I hung over the night. What does it cost? This. To fling a fire to the stars, something must strain against that pushback and spend real effort that never comes back. The sun pays in its burning, the mast in the power you feed it, your arm in ache. Light is never a gift, it is always bought.
And that turns the sky over again. Every star up there isn't just shining, it's paying. Every scrap pouring off it is effort spent, something in that furnace shaken hard and billed for the shaking. When the sun warms my face, I'm feeling energy it worked to fling and can never have back. The warmth on my cheek is somebody's spent effort, come all that dark way to me.
And it's a debt the star can never call back in. Once the kink's off, that energy's gone from the star forever. Yours now, and the spheres, and the voids. The sun is quite literally spending its heat into the sky, a shade cooler every day for all it pours out. It buys the daylight, and the price is paid from its own warmth.
That's a heavier thought than I came down to the shore for. So a fire, the sun, a candle, my one charge on the sand, is a thing paying to be seen. It doesn't shine for free, it shines by spending. And when it's spent all it has to spend.
It goes dark, the plain end of every fire, and next week's business besides. But don't hurry past what you've built, because it closes the account I opened last week. You asked how much energy a wave hauls. Here's its weight, without a figure. Just what was spent to launch it, no more, no less, doled thinner and thinner across a swelling sphere. That's how much, and what it cost.
Then let me carry all this off the beach, because I suspect it's larger than my arm and a tower. If every light is a charge made to change its motion, and it costs to make, then a fire in the grate, glowing away, must be charges being shaken inside it. But nobody's got an arm down in the coals, jiggling anything. What's doing the shaking in a plain hot poker?
Heat is doing the shaking. That's what heat is at the bottom. The charges in a thing jostling, trembling, never still, more furious the hotter it gets. You learned it long ago, warmth is jiggling. Take a cold poker, thrust it in the fire. The heat pours in, the trembling turns violent, and violent trembling is violent change of motion, a whole storm of it.
And change of motion is the one thing that throws light. So the moment the poker's hot enough, its charges are shaken hard by nothing but the heat in it. And everyone is flinging kinks, throwing off light, because a shaken charge cannot help it. The poker glows because its own heat is jiggling its charges, and jiggled charges shine.
3 plain facts meeting for the first time. It's hot. Hot means charges shaken hard. Shaken charges shed light. Nobody lifts a hand to it. The heat is the hand. And not the poker alone. A lamp's white wire, the coals, the ember. Every glowing thing you warm your hands at is charges shaken by heat, paying out light as your arm did on the sand.
Then the sun is the same story, only enormous. A vast heat shaking its charges into a fury, every one flinging light, all of it spending the sun as it pours off. The sun isn't lit the way a lamp is, switched on. It's hot, savagely hot, and hot means shaken charges, and shaken charges shine. The candle and the sun are one trick at 2 sizes.
Add the radio mast, and you've 3 sizes of the one trick. A charge made to change its motion, whether by heat, a hand, or the power in a wire, throwing its cost into the dark as light. No separate magic for stars, none for wireless sets. Shake a charge, pay the bill, light leaves. That one sentence lights the whole sky and every lamp beneath it.
Though a candle flame stops me, there's no metal in it to hold loose charges, no rod, no wire. It's just burning air and a bit of soot. What's jiggling in a naked flame that it should glow so plainly?
The flame is thick with tiny motes, hot specks of soot, hot puffs of air, born in the burning, seething with its heat. Each speck's charges are shaken raw by the sheer violence of it. A flame isn't a quiet thing, it's a riot, and a riot of shaken charges is a riot of thrown kinks, which your eye reads as the yellow glow.
There's a thing I want, though, and I feel you keeping it back. Why a hotter thing glows a different colour? A poker warms from dull red up toward white as it heats. The coals, the noon sun, all sorted somehow by heat. The shaking makes light, I've got that, but what sets the colour of it by the heat? Another of your doors.
Another door, and I'll do no more than name it. Why hotter climbs toward the blue, why warmth sets the colours a thing pours. That leans on rules we've not touched in this course, a reckoning for another room than ours. That a hot thing glows because its charges are shaken is ours. How the heat picks the colour is a debt I'll owe you, and settle in another course.
I'll take the debt and hold you to it, but something you said keeps circling back, that catching a wave is only being shaken by it. If that's so, then my own eye.
Nothing catches a wave, in the end, but a charge standing in its path.
My own eye, then, a receiver, a little rod in its way. The star's wave crosses all that dark, arrives at the back of my eye, and its field shakes the charges there. the way the mast's wave shakes the charges in a wireless rod. Seeing isn't me reaching out to the star, it's the star's kink, come all that way, shaking something inside me.
The star reaches into your eye and shakes it. That's what seeing is, stripped to the bone. A charge shaken in a far furnace, through a kink. It ran for an age, and it ends by shaking a charge in you. The errand of light, launched to landing, is one shake passed across the void to start another. You don't reach out to the star arrives and jostles you.
And it paid to do that. The star spent a piece of itself to shake that charge, ages ago, and the payment crossed the dark undimmed, only spread thin, to spend its last on me. I keep arriving back at the one strange coin. Light is bought at one end and delivered at the other, and the delivery is a shake.
One coin with every face turned up then. Launched by a change of motion, paid for in work against the pushback, spread thin across a swelling sphere, and spent at the last shaking a charge in whatever stands in its road. That's a wave's life, cradle to grave. The same short story, whether it crosses a room or a whole age of dark.
Then take me back to my rod on the mast a moment. I've pictured it throwing kinks off every direction. But is that quite true? When I shake the charge straight up and down, does he fling his light evenly, every way at once? Or does the direction I shake him matter to where it goes?
It matters, and it's a lovely detail. Shake him up and down, and he throws his strongest wave out, sideways, broadside to the shaking, off around his middle. But straight up the line you're shaking him, along the axis, past his head and feet, he throws almost nothing. The light comes off crosswise to the shake, fierce around the belt, faint at the poles.
But why should straight up the line of the shake be the dark spot, with the wave pouring off thickest at right angles instead? If I'm shaking him hard, surely a fellow directly above ought to catch the most of it, not the least.
Think of the kink, the field wagging sideways, crosswise to the shake. Stand off to the side, and that sideways wag lies splendidly across your line of sight. You catch it full. But stand up the line, peering back down the axis at him, and the wag points. Straight toward you and away, not across your view at all. No crosswise left to show. It hides itself end on.
There's no crosswise wag to send straight up the line, so the light won't go the way the charge is shaken. And that's the lean you gave me last week, isn't it? The direction the field wags. Shake him up and down, and the wave that leaves leans up and down.
Set the shake, and you've set the lean. Rock up and down, the wave leans up and down. Rock side to side, it leans side to side. The way you shake becomes the way the field wags out there in the wave. Which is just why, at the catching end, you must hold your rod the right way round.
Ah, because if the field wags up and down, and I hold my rod up and down to match, it shoves my charges up and down its length and kindles a good stout current. But if I hold my rod crosswise to the wag,
the field's shoving one way, and your rod lies the other, so it barely stirs the charges along it, and you catch a whisper or nothing. That's why a body stands fiddling with an aerial, turning it this way and that till the sound comes clear, hunting for the lean, swinging his rod to lie along the wave's wag. Match the lean, catch the wave, cross it, miss it.
So all those years standing on a chair, twisting a bent bit of wire till the crackle cleared, I was blindly groping for the lean of a wave I couldn't see, trying to line my little rod up with the way its field happened to wag. I thought I was appeasing a temperamental box. I was doing geometry with my hands in the dark.
But let's leave the loud mast, the obvious radiator, and I'll show you a quiet one. You've granted that every hot thing shakes its charges and sheds light. Follow that where it goes, and don't flinch from it. How hot are you?
How hot am I? Warm, blood warm, the ordinary heat of a living body, which means by everything I've just agreed to, my own charges are jiggling gently all the time because I'm warm. And jiggling charges shed light, so
Say it. You've earned the right to say it out loud.
I'm glowing. Right now, every warm inch of me is shaking its charges and pouring off light, this instant, in the plain heat of being alive. I'm not a dark thing standing about in a lit room. I'm a lamp. A low, quiet lamp, throwing light off my skin every second I breathe.
A lamp that never goes dark while you live. You pour light off every inch of you, waking and sleeping. It's the warmth we chased all last week, the heat off a body near you in a black room. That's no figure of speech. It's real light, thrown by your own jiggling charges, of a stride too long for your eye, but leaving you, landing on whoever's there.
So when I marvelled last week that I was steeped in light I couldn't see, I never thought to count myself among the sources of it. I'm not only rained on by it, I'm raining it back. Every warm thing, the chairs, the walls, the cat, the cooling tea, all of us quietly pouring light at one another in the dark, paying for it out of our own heat.
The tea cools because it's spending its warmth as light, a shade dimmer, a shade colder, every minute it pours. There's the cost come home to your own table. A warm thing glows by spending its warmth, and a thing that spends its warmth cools.
I'll never watch it go cold the same way again. It isn't merely losing heat to the air, it's throwing light off into the room, buying a little glow with its own warmth until it's spent down to cold. Everything warm is a fire, then, on its own scale, burning down as it shines, paying to be seen by any eye that could see it.
Some of those fires are furious and quick, some so slow you'd never call it burning. But the trick is one. Charges shaken by heat, throwing light, paying in warmth for every scrap. Look round your room tonight and there isn't a dark thing in it. Only fires of every size, all quietly spending.
Then I think I hold the errand, how a fire gets lit and what it costs. A charge changes its motion, a kink peels off and races to the stars at light's own speed. It spreads thin across a swelling sphere, and every scrap was bought with work against a pushback that won't be argued down. Launch, spread, price. Is that the fire, whole, or is a plank still loose?
One plank still loose, and I'd be a poor host not to confess it. There's a quiet cheat under everything we did tonight. Every wave we made in emptiness. The little fellow on the sand, the mast on its hill, the star in the void, all throwing their kinks into bare open space, nothing in the way. Clean vacuum the night long.
And that's a cheat because empty space was where we proved light lives best. The open road, no pond to drag on it, nothing to spend itself upon. You spent 2 weeks selling me the emptiness as light's own country. Why call it a cheat now?
Because light spends almost none of its life in that country. Think of a beam's journey. It races through the void for ages, and then what? It strikes the air, plunges into the sea, hits the window, the eye, the leaf, the wet road, a sheet of metal. The last stretch of nearly every beam's life is spent not in emptiness, but crashing into stuff. And we've said not a word of it.
You're right. I've watched light launch and cross the dark, but never watched it arrive somewhere solid and seen what stuff does to it. And things plainly do happen. Light slows in water. A stick looks bent where it dips in. It bounces off a mirror, stops dead in a wall. The void was the easy part. The moment it meets matter, it does tricks I've no account of.
Every one of those tricks, and none of them small. Send a wave into glass and it slows, actually slows, travels statelier through the stuff than through the void, and bends at the surface. Into water the same. Into a metal it can't get in at all. It bounces straight back, the secret of a mirror. into something dark, it dies there, drunk down and turned to warmth.
Now hold on, light slows? You spent a fortnight swearing it has one speed and one only, the pace the two laws pin down, no vote, no choice, the same for every wave in the family. And now a pane of glass can talk it into going slower? That sounds like you're about to knock over the very thing you built.
It sounds like heresy. The precise reason it's next week's, not tonight's. The one speed is the speed in emptiness, that stands untouched. What a piece of glass does to a wave rolling through it, how a crowd of jiggling charges inside it, shaken by the wave and shaking back, conspire to make the light seem to dawdle. That's a night of its own. I'll only point at it now.
So the charges in the glass are in on it. The wave shakes them and they shake back. Exactly the launching and catching we did all tonight, only 1,000-fold inside the stuff itself. That much I can half see already. The glass isn't some dead thing the light merely passes. It's full of charges that answer the wave.
That's next week's door you're leaning on, and I'll not push it wider. Every charge in the glass, the water, the mirror, your eye, is at once a launcher and a catcher of the kind we built tonight. And the crowd of them, answering the passing wave at once, is what slows it, bends it, bounces it, or drinks it down. Next time, what the world does to it.
A world made of charges. A fine thing to be sent home turning over. But before you put me out the door, let me stand still one moment with what we did, because it's the plainest and strangest thing you've handed me yet. I came down to this shore to light a fire, and the whole of lighting it was, I shook something.
One homely act, and the whole night hangs off it. Don't let the plainness fool you. The kink, the sprint to the stars, the song across the county, the warmth on a far cheek all followed from it, the way a peal of bells follows the first tug on the rope. The universe keeps its grandest doors behind its plainest handles.
And it cost me. The part I never saw coming down the beach. I half thought light would be the one free thing in a world where you've made me pay for everything else. The coil billed my arm, the magnet paid for its fall, and surely the sunbeam, at least, is a gift. And it isn't.
There's the sting in the tail of a lovely night. Nothing shines for free. Not the star, not the mast, not you glowing quietly in the dark. Every scrap that ever crossed a room or a void was bought, on the spot, with work against a pushback that never let a wave leave uncharged. The books of the world balance even here, where you'd least look for a ledger.
And yet, knowing the price hasn't cheapened it, if anything, the opposite. Every star is spending itself to reach me, every fire in the grate burning down to light my hands. And the cost is why it's a wonder and not a trick. A free light would be a small thing, a light a star pays for out of its own body ages before I look up. That's worth the looking.
Carry that to the door, then. Light is not the free thing you hoped, and it's the greater for not being free. It's bought, always, by something shaken hard enough to pay, and then it leaves, and spreads, and thins, and spends its last shaking a charge in whoever's turned the right way to catch it.
I feel the door coming. You always let me have the last word standing at it. But tell me first where you've kept your hand pressed flat tonight, so I know which boards are still missing under me.
2, and I named them as we went. Why a hotter fire glows toward the blue, how heat picks the colour. I owe you, and it waits on rules from another course. And what becomes of light the instant it plunges into stuff? Glass, water, metal, your eye. That's next week. Tonight we lit the fire and counted its cost. Next time, what the world does to it.
Then here it is. I used to think the world was mostly dark, a few fires in it, everything else unlit, and you've shown me there's no dark thing anywhere. Every warm thing is a fire, spending itself to shine, the poker, the sun, the cooling tea, and me, glowing off my own skin every hour I'm alive. Each scrap of light, once off, races away at the one speed, spreads thin across the widening night, and spends itself shaking a charge in something far away turned to feel it. I came down thinking I'd learn a conjurer's trick, light out of nothing. And I'm walking up knowing what the conjurer never tells you. There's no nothing in it, and no trick. You pay, the star pays, the tea pays, and out of all that spending comes every glimmer there has ever been. See you next week, when we find what the world does to the light once it comes to our door.